Morality.
Tonight, we continue to rave as to why Silo is the greatest show on television right now. Then, we talk about 4 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. However, we're probably also going to look at Star Wars Outlaws. All this coming up right now on The Writer Brothers. And welcome back to the Writer Brothers Tuesday Night Live Show. I am, of course, your host, Petey York, joined by Mr. Corione, a witch in residence, Mr. Apoyo Zapatos, a.k.a. John, a.k.a. former pain in my ass, as we were growing up as kids, and, of course, Mr. Ascogliotin. Gentlemen, we have got quite a few things to get into, and, of course, this is our last week that we'll be doing 4 DS9 episodes. I'm actually kind of sad. I was really starting to like doing 4 a week, but unfortunately, fortunately, we have Strange New Worlds starting this week. Who knows?
It doesn't mean we won't do a Deep Space Marathon down the road, too, so...
Right, exactly. But it also means that we still have, Deep Space Nine to compare alongside Strange New Worlds, and, after the last trailer, maybe they find their stride. I mean, there's other people I've talked to that make some valid points. It does feel a lot like, it's got that original series cheese going. Now let's just get, the original series powerhouse stories that came along with some of that cheese. And I mean, the bar is pretty high for me this season because I was not super impressed overall with the last season. But I do still like the first episode a lot. I feel that first episode embodies the idea of Roddenberry idealism very perfectly. Execution's a little sloppy a couple times, like Spock really should have put on a t-shirt. But otherwise, there's little problems with it. But the idea of unity and coming together and remembering that wars should just be fought on the battlefield of ideas and never in each other's backyards with guns if we can avoid it. So yeah, we got that to look forward to. But before we get into any of our shows and any more pop culture discussion, well, actually we have other pop culture discussion, but more specifically, the happenings that are going on with Corione. Take it from here.
Well, so for those not in the know, this gentleman is Saudi Prince Fahad bin Faisal Al Saud. Now, why do we care about this guy? Well,
money.
Well, the money, because Doomcock reported recently that a very wealthy gentleman with ties to oil may be looking to purchase Lucasfilm from Disney for the sum total of, I believe it was $8 billion. And
pocket change.
Well, I mean, for a dude like this, quite possibly, right? Now, here's where things get interesting. This guy wasn't on the radar at all until Sparrow got a scoop, or Sparrow sent a message to Cameron Pasha saying, "Hey, do you know who this guy is? His name has been mentioned around the office a whole lot." Turns out of all the Saudi princes, this gentleman is a tech mogul who lives in San Diego. He apparently is a big sci-fi guy. And before this, he was originally looking at buying WWE, but when the UFC merged with, I think it's one other company, they wound up having a more powerful bid, and that's who bought it. So we know he has the money and the interest in buying an entertainment brand, right? He's got the money, he's got the motive, he's got the means, he has the opportunity. It's possible he could buy it. Now, what makes this interesting too is, he's a very progressive member of the Saudi royal family. Very, very much in line with Cameron Pasha's own views. So if someone was going to buy it, this is probably one of the better options available out there.
Hopefully. Like, let's not forget, like, the Saudi princes definitely have their own code of conduct that really only applies to them and each other.
True,
and
but the track record for this gentleman has been good.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but at the same time, like, I don't know. A lot of this feels like rich kids trying to invade this space, and like, they are trying to take care of it, but that's the same thing that, like, Kathleen Kennedy said she was going to do. She's going to make this an inclusive Star Wars, and how inclusive was it? It wasn't. It was like a complete slap in the face to the original fans and a mediocre bomb in to the new fans, right? And to the new generations. Okay. And so, like,
if the leaks are to be believed, okay, the person that is looking at buying it hated the sequel trilogy just like the rest of us and wants to take it back to George's vision.
Right, but again, like, it's mostly just this is probably just pure personal jaded from Kathleen Kennedy and the most recent purchase. But, like, where's the talk? Like, where's the walk? Like we've got all this talk. We've got all of these people coming in saying they're going to save the day. Like, if this dude has $8 billion to blow on Star Wars, he has $180,000 to blow on an indie sci-fi project to prove how much he cares about sci-fi, to prove how much he cares about Star Wars. Like, even he has the money to fund a game studio that could then pay for the license from Disney to then create a game and prove to us that he loves Star Wars by doing it that way, like Ubisoft is trying to do. And to me, that's what's pissing me off about these rich people. It's the same thing that pissed me off about Disney, because, like, Disney bought Lucasfilm and they were supposed to be like, we've got all of the money. All you need to do is bring us the writing and we'll make it pretty. And instead, we got what we got. And I think that's, like, the frustrating thing. This dude technically has all the money. He can always have all the money, and I support that. Like, money's fine, but in the words of Henry Ford, money is meaningless. It's what you can do with the money that matters. And this guy just showing up in the shady shadows is a lot more Palpatine Kennedy than it is Luke
Well-
Skywalker here to save the day. So I challenge him, like straight
Okay.
up.
Well, and not to
do
mention, I
something.
mean,
You've got the money to license the property, to do something, to pay some artists, just a small competition style event where they write a one series show or one season show, something. Just prove to us that you actually care, because you have the money to do it. Like,
Yeah,
if you have
I get where you're-
I get where you're.
$8
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's not going to happen. Because if all Disney heard from what was just talked about here in this entire discussion was $8 billion bailout, and that's
and that's fine. I do get that, but that's why I say it's a challenge to the buyers. Like, whoever is bidding on this war, you want us to support you? Like,
yeah. If you want that $8 billion back, you're gonna have to do.
put that in the byline to the next product you create. We wrote this to prove to you we love Star Wars, and then production company comes in next. Whatever it is, whoever you are, if you're this dude, put a production company behind it. Like, you've got the money, you've got the time, you've got zero responsibility. You're a prince. Like, you're not actually concerned about politics in any way. So how about you act like a prince and spend some money on some fun stuff so we can see that you actually have an idea for what you're doing? Or even, this is the ultimate baller move, pay somebody that's already indie in development, some independent, and just pay them to do it, and show us that all you really want to do is pay the right writers to write on this show. Like, you don't even care about having your name attached to it. You
And
just want
that
the
would
writers to do it.
really
You do
well
that.
if all the writers weren't currently on strike.
That's what I'm saying. What if that's how he breaks?
Actually, hold on.
The strike. Instead, he proves to the rest of the industry,
Yeah.
no, I can afford this.
It wouldn't
If you
matter. He
can't,
wouldn't.
you're
He
wrong.
wouldn't need them to be off strike, because if he's got $8 billion to buy the property with, then he can just go around all the guilds and say, hey, if any of you want to write for Star Wars that I now own, and you want job security forever, I'll pay double what the guild tries to enforce, and you'd only have to write for me, and then that's it. And it's like he has
Well, that's the frustrating thing. The guild isn't even asking for anything much. I was just listening to an interview somebody from Dawson Creek did on Breaking Points this morning, and he was saying that, like, the main thing they're asking for is the liberty to work on multiple shows at the same time, because, like, right now they can only do one a year. And so, like, a 10-season series or 10-episode series wraps up, and they've earned 3 months of the year's wages, but they can't work anywhere else because it's one show per year. And it's like, why can't they do multiple? And the whole reason, greedy fat cats don't want their ideas being mixed and mingled. So, like, screw the execs. And to the person that's going to buy this company, that's how you win the writers. Just go, yeah, I don't care. You can write on as many shows as you want, just don't lose quality of product. And as long as you never lose quality, I'm never going to ask what other shows you're writing on, unless it's one I want to see the next season for.
Well, some of the
That's the
other
baller move
names
here.
Yeah. So some of the other names that have been bantered around a little bit. There are rumors that Apple may be trying to get Lucasfilm and Pixar.
all for Apple buying Lucasfilm.
Yeah, and Pixar in a bundled deal.
I mean, if they want that too, I don't really. But if
Apple
Apple
gets Pixar
and Lucasfilm,
Yeah.
10 out of 10 support that. Are
Yeah,
you kidding me?
yeah.
Pixar's always been hindered.
the Writer
by,
brothers,
like,
I don't want to
Disney.
speak for everybody, but all in favor of Apple acquiring Lucasfilm and Pixar, say aye. Two.
All in favor of the Writer brothers acquiring Lucasfilm and Pixar.
No,
Say aye.
no. However, if
I'll
Apple
take
is
aye.
looking for diehard fans to write Star Wars and I guess Pixar stuff, if John wants some of that, hey, we are available.
Oh,
I have a book. I have lots of sci-fi
project
knowledge.
manager.
Huh?
Put me in Kathleen Kennedy's spot, and it will be the most
Actually, I don't want a show. I want a video
organized
game.
release schedule of all time.
You want a video game? Okay. If I was going to do a series, I would actually want to do a series about a species that is just on the border of the galaxy, having is where the main character is going to come from, and he is going to be a Force user that does not know about the Jedi Sith at all, but has been exiled from his people and is coming into the conflict fresh. He has force abilities of his own that are unique.
That he's cultivated. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And have him do the equivalent of you guys ever watch the TV series Kung Fu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want Kung Fu Jedi Edition. Like, I want this guy to be coming in looking for a member of his family that went before him. He's been exiled by his people, and he goes through the galaxy solving problems looking for, like, I don't know, his brother or something. Like, just take the plot of Kung Fu and, you know, and Star Warsify it and call it a freaking day. It would be such a great
That'd be
series.
sick.
And here's why I want to be showrunner, because what I would do to fluff your show, Corian, is depending on the years you chose, I would run 2 parallel shows that one is the Sith and one is the Jedi. So you can get the Sith as the protagonist and one is the Jedi as the protagonist, but not ever say which is which. So you just start liking the characters according to whoever they become. And so you have a 3-prong release schedule where it's just constant, I want to know what's going on in this portion of the universe.
We could do that too.
Yeah, well, okay, but before we write any mystery boxes, let's make sure we have the mystery unboxed before we even write the first chapter.
Oh, that's my specialty. To me, I think that like time. I really like the saying from True Detective Matthew McConaughey's part where he says life or time is a flat circle. We just keep going around and around and around. Like if you think about it like that, and then you put on Dan Harmon's writing loop for how episodic should be written in the terms of like the hero's journey, but in a progressive hero goes out from home, journey, comes home a different person. Who is he today? Next episode. Then and in that circle, and then you like time and all these things, there are like actual probable mathematical solutions to that stuff that we haven't solved yet. But like as far as literary goes, if you start looking at time in a circle, you're not writing mystery box. You're just filling in the circle. And you're always, you know which line you're cutting out for your, you know, time segment, 30 minutes, and it's going to be this style of an adventure. It's going to go in this loop, and it's just going to fit right back into the circle because like that's how we found pi. You can fit infinite shapes into a circle.
Yep. So those are the really big things. Now, I do want to make this point though too, and I think this is important to remember about all the Lucasfilm news right now. There is a thick fog of war over this whole situation, and anything that comes out is going to be limited based on the information that somebody sees moment to moment. Things could change at the drop of a hat. If a sale goes through, it could happen virtually overnight. We don't know how this is going to look, so keep eyes open, stay hopeful, and let's see how it all goes.
Everything you hear, discuss in public, because that's what's going to keep making the wind shift. Is if people start rioting at the whim, then they're going to know, okay, we got to pull back, you know? So, like, be loud, because we're proud of the thing that we love, that is Star Wars. You know, and whoever does own it, remember that. Like, you're not just buying a product, you're buying the fans that come with it, and they expect a return on their investment. Like, we've put billions of dollars into Lucasfilms, whether we buy their video games, we buy their toys.
We're the reason they're anything at all.
Talking about them on YouTube.
They're nothing.
Like, that's money.
Yeah, like
we invested.
Let's be clear. I have bought the Star Wars movies on VHS, on DVD, on Blu-ray, and
on digital,
right? And I am sure, and I am sure when they build something that goes directly into my eyeball, I will buy a copy to go right on there too, right? Like I know this about myself. It is, you remember the Men in Black where he's like, I'll have to buy the White Album again. For me, it's I'll have to buy Star Wars again. Right? Like I know this, I'm okay with this. It'll go in my it'll go into the downloaded section of my brain, right beside the seasons of Star Trek. That's how it is.
You gotta have a copy of Johnny Mnemonic in there just for meme value.
Right, like 100%. Right. So
I always have Fight Club in there too.
Hey man, we don't talk about that.
Yeah. Well, you know, we'll just have to keep watching this as it goes, and it certainly makes for interesting and entertaining and fun discussion. But moving on to a properly constructed mystery box. Silo continues to win us over every single week. This is, I mean, I'm glad that it's a delayed release show, because even though it would be just fine if all the episodes are dropped at once, this is one that you just really got to take in, you know, a couple episodes at a time, because
Just revel in the anticipation. It's part of it.
You need breathing time to digest everything you just saw.
Because this show starts taking you in a direction, and it kind of points towards the ending out of the gate, right? But then it decides, we're going to take this way over here to go. We're going to go this way and then up, and then we're just going to kind of go, and then it's going to just kind of splinter, and everything's just going to kind of go different directions. You're not going to see twists. Anytime we reveal something, we also create 20 more questions to go along with it. And it's just, I mean, I'm impressed. This show has been an enjoyable ride in so many ways. I cannot emphasize enough. Like, if you are not happy with, if you're a sci-fi fan like me, in that you like a lot of different sci-fis, I mean, Star Wars, Star Trek are my biggest ones, and you're not happy with any of those, I mean, this is what good writing and good sci-fi is supposed to be right here. Compelling, thought-provoking, really just immersive world. This is some of the best world building that I have ever seen take place in a show, that it doesn't at any point am I bored. I'm still got a bunch of unanswered questions, and yet now I've got more questions. Yeah, so still a solid 7 for me, but let's go around the room real quick with non-spoiler overviews. John, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so I disagree on the episode, like, delayed release, only because, like, the wife and I have been perusing the rest of Apple's catalog the last couple weeks, and just bangers, man. Like, we started The Crowded Room. That's a whole mystery that, like, we caught up on it. We're on episode 3, and we're like, are you kidding? Just give us everything. We want to binge this. We watched the whole Last Thing He Told Me with Lannister, the Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones, and just mind-boggling, interesting, good, fun content, mystery, same thing. Just like I love that there's the title mystery box, because I would just call these mystery or thrillers. But, like, when you talk about mystery box, like, these shows are the ones that make that style seem feasible. Because, like, what J.J. Abrams did with it, it was always a mystery. And yeah, technically there's, like, infinite possibility, but infinite choice means no choice.
I swear, Lost was just a psychological experiment to see who would be suckered into following along until they could just throw as many ridiculous and stupid random shit at you until you gave up.
Well, I don't think it was that so much as it was it was like kind of that at the start, you know, in terms of, like, we don't know where this is going. We're going to write it to see what happens. And as the progression, and as people fall in love with different characters, we're going to adjust course. And that
we'll make these twists, and we'll figure out what it means later.
All I'm going to say, I'm just going to say this last thing on Lost, and that's it. It is less funny random British humor, and Cameron Pasha completely agrees with that take. So
no, and I'm not trying to, like, pump it up, because, like, the only thing Lost did is, like, give room for writers that can write like this.
Hey,
like
you can
Silence,
pump it up.
right?
Just, you know, forewarned, you're gonna feel a lot stupider by the end.
I don't know if it's any good.
It's not. It's terrible.
But, like, to me, like, this is what he was shooting for. Like, Silo is an example of what he wanted Lost to be. Because, like, the world is so built, and I actually do care about, like, the progression. I even want to know the politics. Like, I want to know what they are debating, if anything, because it really does feel like a tyrannical system of some kind. And in that instance, I'm super curious how people are, like, dealing with that, you know? And the show is giving me people dealing with that. Like, in this episode, we learn a lot more about the rebellion, for lack of a better non-spoiler term, and it's thrilling because like one of the things we hear a lot in modern politics is like the censorship, and if they censor us, we're never going to be able to like overthrow them or something to that effect, or the government's going to censor, then control, then overpower and dominate, right? And now we're getting an example of what that life might look like, and it's so well written that like you don't feel like you're watching a news article on North Korea. You feel like you're watching a whole internal universe on its own, and this show is just getting
I
so
never
much
doubt
more
what I'm
interesting
seeing on the screen.
after drawing us all in. Like the exposition was so heavy but so soft at the same time. Like it was a lot like Snowfall in the terms of like we really got enthralled into the rules, the fears, who people are, how they're going to try and navigate, how they transport stuff around the silo. And now like in this episode, we're like, all right, by the way, you guys have also been following a major storyline, and here's how big it really is. And you're like, I need more. So I really want it to be released more. Like I want the dump. I'm ready for it. I want to binge it all.
Well, your time is fast approaching. All right, Skogly, real quick with your non-spoiler,
Yeah, oh yeah, I would love to binge it, and if it was available, I absolutely would. But at the same time, the anticipation, I think it adds a lot to the experience. But yeah, this is some compelling TV. I don't know about you guys, but season 1 of Westworld was awesome. This is on par with that easily. There's 3 episodes left, and I'm just, oh man, this is some good shit, guys. Check it out.
And Corione for the last non-spoiler input, unless yeah.
Yeah, so the conspiracy at the core of our story is just starting to unspool that red thread that, you know, if you're like me, have been sitting down and pulling out yourself trying to piece together what the heck is going on in this place. And we're now getting just a taste of what's really going on kind of behind the curtain of this, and starting to understand some of the methods of control that are put into the silo, right? That's where things get interesting for me, because now we've got a world built, right? They've done a very good job of setting this up. Now they're starting to play in that world and show us that what we thought was this world isn't necessarily everything it is. There's a deeper level to the understanding of this, and that's fantastic that we're getting taken along for the ride. On the previous episode, you know, it ended and I was like, well, our main character might be dead. And, you know, somehow she managed to make it through that, but we've still got more. And now I'm like, well, now she's really, really dead. And I can't wait to see how they get through this.
Dude, the spoiler portion for me, like that.
We're in
part
spoilers
was-
now.
Oh, we're in spoilers?
I have now
hit
activated
it.
spoiler alert.
Okay, like that part with the plant being placed the day before she goes in there, and supposedly she's the last fire starter, like
Firekeeper.
Flamekeeper, yes,
Yeah.
Flamekeeper.
Well, I guess that
So
would
look,
technically
like,
make her a
that's such
fire
cool
starter.
title,
now.
like as far as group that preserves history, like normally that's called grandmas at the National like Historic Society, and instead they're the Flamekeepers, protectors of the truth. Like they're just preserving magazines and stuff, but like now it's like kind
It's
of a
the-
nice taste. Oh yeah, libraries do matter.
It's like,
Like,
what
oh, yeah.
what are Judicial's motives? Because they're watching. She's blatantly got an illegal artifact, and they're watching her look at it, and they just let it slide. Because that's not what it's about.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
like it's not about
so-
the media; it's about the person in holding the artifact. Like the other judge, who's a judge, isn't she part of Judicial?
Yeah.
And
So
like sometimes she's
Well, she's a
like,
puppet
the
too.
most
She's just a puppet.
corrupt.
yeah. So I may or may not, have some experience with drug trafficking. And what I will say is that in a
Fighting drug trafficking, for the record.
I'm not allowed.
Yeah. This is not an admission of anything. No, I've been involved in drug trafficking, and what I will say is that when you're trying to catch a drug ring, you don't target the small-time guys. You actually, we'll have a DS9 episode about this later on when we get to season 4. But when you're targeting a drug ring, you want to get into the ring. Now, of course, some people think, oh, just go undercover. Yeah, it's not that easy. But also, what you do is, once you have your mark tagged, your dealer, your distributor, you observe them. You watch what they do. You see, okay, where are they getting their supply from? Who are they connected to? What? And that's basically what you do, is you let them, hang themselves in the process, while all you do is just watch from afar. That's exactly that's what's going on right here, right now, is they're not going after her because they want to stop her. They're waiting to see where the rest of the Flame Keepers are, because he's not convinced that they're the last one. And so that's why they're just watching her go wherever she's going.
In front of the mirror.
The last sheriff did.
Sheriff Holden.
No, he said it was literally the day before.
The day before he went
Yeah,
out.
the day before he
the
went out to
camera
clean.
The day before, and they hadn't reported it. Like, Sheriff Holden didn't die the day before.
No. Holden put the plant the day before he went out to clean, and they didn't report that he had put the plant there.
I thought they were saying that the plant had only been there for a day.
No. Sheriff Holden put it there the day before he walked out to clean. And they didn't take note of it as anything of any significance, because at the time Holden wasn't presenting any kind of danger or threat to anything. In fact, it was all a surprise, because he'd just been functioning the last 2 years without his wife until he finally, had to go out because of what I can't remember. There's what the current sheriff said. So
yeah. So also, I mean, when did the silo get like the KGB, or like, I don't know. I'm thinking actually they're more kind of like the Dai Li, right? Like, I feel like at some point somebody's going to say to us, like, there is no conflict inside the silo, right?
That's kind of the vibe I'm feeling. Yeah, there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
I get that vibe, but also, like, that was 100% prison riot gear. Like, I'm starting to go back to that, like, prison Stanford experiment theory. Like, this is 140-year-old experiment gone bad.
So you think, when they go outside, there's going to be like some like science puke with a clipboard, like writing shit down?
No, it's just the new people in control that have been grandfathered in over time have just been corrupted.
Yeah,
who knows how long? The last rebellion was 140 years ago. It could be going on for 500 years. Who knows?
Well, it could also have been only going on for, like, they could be going out and it's Malibu outside. Like, it's just standard.
These artifacts could
every day. And it turns out this was a cult that started maybe a generation ago, 2 generations ago. And they went into the silo during the 50s or something. And now it's like been orchestrated and bred into everything in their society. Like, they have no concept of American freedom or mobility.
Yeah, this
or
could be like 500 years later.
And so, like, when they come out, like, they get pulled in by FEMA or something, like CPS, they're like, hey, are you ready to rejoin society? And it's just normal, like the Village, maybe, getting a little, what's his name?
Shyamalan?
Yeah, Shyamalingalinglang. I like him. I like his twist in those instances. I don't like when it's like, now his name is synonymous with twist. Like, he has to write 4 linear in a row movies. Knock at the Cabin is one, phenomenal. But the rest, no, this
he's got to surprise us again. It's got to be unique. It can't be a twist every time. Then it's
exactly.
Actually, it goes like this with him: plot, linear plot, twist. And then everyone's like, it's the execution of the twist that gets everybody. But then when you actually look at the substance of the story, you're like, oh, this is not anything new. This has been done
Well,
before.
if you watch Knock at the Cabin, that is one of Shyamalan's new movies, and it's phenomenal. Like, and it is linear. At no point does it ever lie to you.
I'm still butthurt about Last Airbender, and I don't think I'm ever gonna not be butthurt about Last Airbender.
For sure. That's why I am very judgy, because that was a twist too. Like, that was twisted and demented.
I was gonna say, yeah, twisted into like absolute trash, if that's where you're going.
Well,
Just a butchering of that show.
did you guys hear that we're getting a third animated Airbender series?
Yes,
It's gonna
I
follow
did.
an Earthbender. Yeah.
And yeah, that I still haven't finished Korra yet, but
Same
yes,
writers?
the new, I believe it is the same team. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. If they can pull it off, like Korra was good, but they got to go back to that linear, like 3-book, this is a trilogy story writing, because that was so much fun with Aang, but Korra didn't have that, and that really hurt me in trying to stay into it.
Yeah.
Personally. But also, like, it was a kid show, and I still go back and watch it.
Yeah.
So
So anybody got any like good solid theories for how this is gonna wrap up in the next 3 episodes? Because we've only got 8, 9, and 10, and then that's it. What do we think? Do we think we're gonna pull a Severance here and they're gonna go for a second season cliffhanger ending, or do you think we're gonna get full resolution?
I think it's going to be a cliffhanger, but in the way that we want. Like, kind of like Severance was. Like, Severance was a cliffhanger, but gave us all the major answers we needed to wait for season 2. And I think that's what we're going to get. I think either the current sheriff or somebody else that we've been following closely is going to step out. And we're going to actually get to see what happens next. And that'll be the end of the episode. But the rest will still be in there. Still doing the same thing, stuck in whatever adventure we're still like following.
I genuinely hope it's a 1-season set piece. Just
Here's what I'm gonna go for, like the absolute balls to the wall crazy ending, where we are gonna have a POV switch from the sheriff to the
judicial.
the actual head of judicial, Common. Okay, where there's basically going to be revealed that he's the real power in the silo, and they're gonna yeet him out of the silo, and he's gonna get out there, and he's gonna be like, the door is opening, and he thinks he's gonna die, and it's actually quite breathable, and everything's fine, and then we'll follow him for a little while on the outside. That
would be cool.
And that's the start of the season where he walks out and realizes that it's actually a paradise, and that's where the season ends, so that you've got a resolution to the main silo story, but they have the option to carry it forward into a new season.
What if going back and cleaning the camera punctures the suit somehow, and that's why they keep dying? And so, like, in this instance, he doesn't go back and he's like, you know what, screw you guys. You ain't kick me. I was keeping everything running smoothly and you're mad at me. I'm not cleaning the camera. I'm out. And just walks off and doesn't fall over. Then everyone's like, wait, why was the camera killing people?
Oh, no, I'm saying, like, they yeet him out without a suit.
Even then, like, if he doesn't fall over, like, people, I feel like that's going to change the whole twist. Like, the camera itself is a weapon to some degree. Like, because I don't know, if you look at the image, it's in a perfect, like it's all surrounded by upward mound, which means that theoretically, like, if they are a cult of some kind hiding in a compound, the FBI, the other whatever group is on the other side, is literally just right over the hill and the camera can't see them.
Yeah.
Like, the silo could possibly not even be technically underground. It could literally just be a tower. And when they go out, they actually go out the first floor. Like, because, like, the way the cameras are set up, it's all technically an optical illusion because it's a camera showing everybody the same screen. And that means the camera could be anywhere.
Yeah, over the hill is just like a 50-foot cliff.
That could be. This could literally be built into Devil's Tower for all we know. I
Right.
mean, yeah, the whole silo is actually not underground. It's above ground, but it's in a giant rock. I mean, that could work.
Well, no, that's like how much they've got room to play with if they haven't finished writing season 2, which I think is so great. Even just in these next 3 episodes, that like they could do like. This is why I call it like good mystery box, because like they, I hope, have the answer, but at the same time, I love that they haven't revealed it in any for sure obvious way yet. Otherwise, we'd know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I see your point, Scogli, with with wanting it to be.
They have a story and tell it. It's a long
Right.
movie. That's what I want. Just have a tight, well-written story.
Well, and then it could just tangent into a silo universe, so to speak. Like there's other silo type stories that could be told.
There's been great. I can't think of any off the top of my head because that's the way my brain works. But there's been great shows that have been one season, just boom,
Yep.
done, just slayed. They're really wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, like as much as I hate Firefly having been canceled, that's at least 14 episodes in a movie of pure perfection that I don't have to worry being shat on anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
as long as they don't leave us with some wild.
you know what we should
thing
just
and
start
then
doing? I mean, I was
more.
doing those Renew the
Gets
Orville
canceled.
shorts to help boost our shorts game, but then the writer's strike started, so it's like, well, you know, whatever. So I think, you know what, we'll just have an obligatory Renew the Orville remark just in the middle of stream from now on. Because, man, I kind of want that show back, too. And by kind of, I really do.
Oh, there is.
Um,
So there was a thing that I wanted to put out there, guys. So, as many of you know, I did a video on Sunday with Charlotte, who's an up-and-coming writer. Well, it turns out she actually worked on 1923 as a PA and has a ton of stories from the from the production. So I want to put it out to, our fans. Leave a comment if you'd like us to ask her to come on and share some of the stories from the set. It's kind of an epilogue to our 1923 coverage so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what my answer is to that, so.
Yes, I believe it involved a F and a yeah.
Yeah, like America. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the first of 4 Star Trek Deep Space Nine episodes that we are covering, because we decided to do 4 more because I didn't feel like researching any new content, and I also had a lot of fun watching those 4 episodes last week. I figured, let's do it again, because after that we have Strange New Worlds, and then, I gotta figure out what we watch after Silo. But
For me, I did watch the new Fast and Furious. If we just want to do me ranting about how much I love family, because
Hard
I'm
pass.
so excited for this family-filled family sequel trilogy family finale.
I like the enthusiasm. And I
love
appreciate.
the movie. I'm not shitting on it, but it said family so many times.
Yeah,
It's
no,
that's all
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
The
But
new Fast movie.
Yeah, Fast X. It's amazing. It's so fun. It's everything I wanted it to be, except for the fact that it's a 3-part, 2-hour episode trilogy.
See,
Oh.
and me, I found the movie very slow. So
and I didn't watch it, so no.
It's fun.
Whatever.
No,
Yeah.
I recommend it to anybody who likes Fast and Furious. It's still going.
It's popcorn and cotton candy.
I'm gonna, that's fine if you want to recommend it real quick on the channel, but as far as talking about it any further, no.
Well, that's our
Oh.
new.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
our
hold
new
on.
content.
Sorry.
If
Let me do it the
if
right
you
way.
guys say it's new content.
Yeah, you want to rave about Fast and Furious? No. I fucking love that gif. Oh man.
Family.
and you see, I wanted a Fast and the Furious Transformers crossover, Fast Formers.
Oh, shit.
Okay, that I would watch. But
I want that so bad. That's where they're going. Are you kidding me? They've already been to space. They've already just ignored all sense of
Nope.
linear. Somehow, Vin Diesel is black.
Well, here's what I'm going to put forward. We get Fast Formers, and then we find out the Fast Crew is actually the basis for G.I. Joe. Right? I give you the unified Hasbro
Because
theory.
there is a G.I.
Bro,
Joe
I'm
tie-in at
in.
the end of the new movie, right?
Yeah, there you go. Right?
There is.
yeah, well, we'll
John
see.
Cena's
But
even in it.
in the meantime, you know, we're here to talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and okay. So first off, we have Second Skin, which is a great episode, by the way.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Yeah. Kira is contacted by Alienus Grimm of the Bajoran Central Archives, who's doing research on the former Elimspur Detention Center. Grimm has proof Kira was once detained there, but she's sure it isn't true. When the only remaining living inmate recognizes her, Kira decides to travel to the archives to sort things out, but she never arrives. While the crew searches for her, Kira awakes on Cardassia. She's been turned into a Cardassian and is told she served as a spy on Bajor, whose long-term memory was altered to avoid discovery. Her name is Ileana Gamor, daughter of Legate Takini Gamor.
Takemi, yeah.
I think they must have spelled it wrong. Though she denounces the situation as preposterous at first, she starts having serious doubts when Intech of the Obsidian Order provides more convincing proof. Shout out to Arnold Teal for that fantastic storyline synopsis. This is, without a doubt, one of the, we say this like every week it seems, the best episodes of Deep Space Nine. It is a very well written, just kind of takes your mind and decides to screw with it a bit. And boy, does it just hit all the right marks. I remember first watching this well, you know what, John, why don't you, since this was your first time experiencing this episode, why don't you rave about it first, then I'll take over.
Okay, so this one is a Wally World trip in terms of finally you get to see multiple factions at odds, and the main character that we all know and love is just like us. Like in a lot of Star Trek, like they're always slightly space nerdier. They always have the upper hand to some degree. But in this case, Kira Nerys has no idea what's going on either.
Very vulnerable.
When the Cardassians are like 99% sure they found their plant, like Kira's like, I don't believe you. And the Cardassians are like, that's what we trained you to do. And I'm just sitting there like, who's lying? And so I was like melting for the first, like, the whole episode. I was so confused. And I like, again, that's what I said last week. Like, one of the things I wanted to see was more of the Star Trek romance and the relationships, to see like if it was, you know, worth following and like actually, you know, adhering to some of their standards. And I agreed with it then. But then this one's like, how do you write a really interesting intergovernmental spy dilemma? Yeah, Star Trek can do that too. Like, the fact that there was a faction within the Cardassians fighting some other group within the Cardassians, you know, like left wing, right wing within the CIA type interfighting, and a family member is in the mix. Like the dad is like, no, I intentionally chose not my daughter. Like, and it's like, dude, how do you do that? Like, you could go and actually get your, you know, your home team that wants to go and find your family. They want her to bring her back. And you're like, no, that's a bad idea. Like, if the Democrats or Republicans get the information, they're going to do the wrong thing with it. So I have to sacrifice my time with my daughter even longer just to protect what I believe in, and that's honor. Like, that's what sacrifice for honor really is. And I think it's just crazy that it's also within the group that's supposed to be the big bad. And Kira just had to go from, I will murder every single one of you and laugh, to the Empire. Like, I don't care if the Federation is mad at me. I will destroy Cardassia if I have to. To like, wow, you guys are people too. And like that level of like, I went from melting to just pure respect by the last 10 minutes of the episode. I was like, what the heck, man? This is fun. Like, these are the writers, dude. Like, they're still alive. I'm pretty sure they're out teaching master classes. Bring them on for the next Star Wars and you'll save the franchise. That's all it's going to cost. Come on. Grow up. Like, this was so fun. That was like, and it was
a perplexing episode.
Nerdy space porn. And it's like, what? That was pure spy thriller. I had so much fun. That was Tinker Tailor Soldier in Space. I always knew it could be done, and it's so nice that there's already a proof of concept that exists. And it was fun to watch again, almost 30 years later. You know, that's wild.
All right. So, for me, there are two things I need to say about this episode first. One is, man, I was kind of sad about Intek. I rather liked him. And the other, you know, like, and honestly though, like, I think he could have been a great reoccurring foil, which would have been interesting. But I understand why he had to get vaporized. The other piece of it is, this episode, the best way I can describe it is, what if the Manchurian Candidate, but in reverse? Because that's kind of what happens here. It's like, you know, what if we bring in a secret double agent, only instead they're actually not, but we make everyone think they are, right? That's exactly what happened here. And, you know, the neat thing is, you know, we often complain that, hey, let's just have the bad guy be the bad guy, all right? Like, let's just have irredeemable bad guys. But what made this episode great was we got to see that, no, this isn't just like, you know, generic evil race being generically evil. There's nuance here, right? There are good people in this group. There are shades. And, you know, there are pieces of their culture that we can absolutely respect. Their love and care about family is something to actually be admired.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? The fact that they would go to this length to protect a family member should be admired, right? And that makes them all the better bad guy when you really think about it, because you can sit there going like, you have the potential to be good. Why must you be murder lizards? Right? Like, that's what makes this so incredible an episode, is you start to go, you know, like, you start out in a place of, okay, Cardassians are the bad guys, they're evil. Then you go, oh, wait a minute, they're not all evil. And then you go, hey, evil space lizards, why can't you be like him? Right?
It's like, there's like, what are the soldiers like on the ground? Like, there's good people. They're, you know, corrupt governments, and it's relatable.
Exactly, it's relatable, and it adds a level of depth and nuance that you do not see today. You know, what we get today is villains, and then we're given some situation like, oh, they're only a villain because somebody stepped on their puppy 10 years ago or whatever. This is a far more nuanced take on humanizing your villain. This is how you do it right.
Well,
right?
I think this is also like a perfect example of like why you invest in a series, in a universe. Like, this is kind of what Marvel was doing. Like, Thanos was such a big bad, and as like they kept doing more adventures, Thanos seemed to be having his finger in their adventures, and that was wild. right? But then it came to a close and they just wrapped it all up and it was done, and they can't get back to that because they're not willing to do what Deep
The
Space
work
Nine was
again.
going to do, which was 2 seasons of, guys, we're just exploring. We don't know what's out there. It's fun. And you're like, okay. Like, even you guys, like, all right, we have to slog back through it. And then we go back through and we're like, actually, it was really good. It's just, it wasn't this good.
Yeah.
It wasn't this fun. And so, like, you knew this part of the roller coaster was coming, so the start wasn't the best hill. And I think that's why you invest in a universe, is because every time you let new people come into the universe, you make them run through the start gauntlet. Go slow, exposition, introduce your characters, character development. All right, now they can be people again.
And I gotta say,
Now
like,
they
the
can be
quality of the
experiencing
acting
real-
has also come up tremendously. Like, Nana Visitor just hits it out of the park in this episode. Like,
Oh yeah.
so good.
Yeah, everything comes together in this. Like, it's about, I mean, we saw it when we were watching season 2. Near the end of season 2 is where this show starts to freaking hit its stride, and every single episode's just strong out of the gate.
Man,
So
I was kind
yeah, it's
There was one more thing I wanted to point out. When they're getting ready to leave to go rescue Kira, Garrick says, like, look, at the first sign of trouble, I'm going to stab you guys in the face and, like, get out of this. If you get in trouble, you are on your
On your
freaking
own.
own. And
Exactly.
Cisco says, that's the first time I believe you. But when they actually do get into trouble, what does
Right.
Garrick do? Garrick bails them out. So Garrick has managed to lie even when people thought he was telling the truth.
well, I wouldn't count that.
No,
I
I
wouldn't.
would.
No,
I
no.
would count that as a lie
It's-
because Garrick actually is lying about how honorable he is.
Well, no, I think. Well, first of all, it's got one of Cisco's best lines in the entire series. Like this, if you haven't figured out the type of commander that Cisco is, this is where you finally understand where things are going for the rest of the series. When he goes,
This
you know,
is extortion.
well,
And he
yeah.
stops and he's like,
yes,
Yes.
Yes, it is.
and he does, and it's like there's no, it's like and,
yeah.
so, yeah.
Uh,
It really just yeah, this is the moment where we get to see the Commander Cisco that well, you'll see, John, as it continues to unfold.
that
But
good.
reason I don't think Garrick was lying is
Well,
because I think he was signaling his intent. Like, he was like, you know what, if shit goes awry, I'm out. But instead, the moment came and he changed his mind, and that's a total
Yeah.
Garrick thing to do.
Muscle memory,
But no, so I think
reflexes.
that's why I say he's lying
That
about
was
being
it.
honorable, but I think he's lying to himself. Like, everybody else is starting to already see it, and we've seen it throughout season 1, season 2. Like, his honor does come out. These kids, they need to be saved. The doctor, like, needs to be saved. Like, every chance he's had to just throw caution to the wind, you know what? Nah, I'm a spy, dude. I don't have to care. I
The
don't.
Cardassians in
Instead-
general, like, that's one of their admiral traits, right? Is they're very honor bound by, like, their traditions and their family.
Right,
and
but,
all
like,
this, right?
honor to the kingdom, whereas like they are infecting Garrick with like true honor,
Yeah.
character honor, individual honor, where he is literally like, I will kill you all if I need to just to survive. And they're like, yeah, you will. Sure, Garrick. We already know that you love us. And that's the lie. Like, Garrick's lying to himself, not to everyone else, because Garrick is being honest. He doesn't care on the outside, but on the inside, he knows that they've grown on him, and he's also known that like Cardassia left him. They abandoned him, and these people should hate him and just never want him there. And instead, they first defended him, allowed him to have a shop there. Like, and yeah, like to him, he was like, yeah, that's because they know I'm a spy. Like, I know I'm hiding it and I'll never admit it, but like they kind of know. Like, but then like they still, like, Bashir has always befriended him. Like, that's what I think this show's really, like, that's what I think that like you guys don't like about seasons 1 and 2 is they are that character development, just introduction of the main cast heavy, and you're like, guys, I already know how cool these guys are. I don't need to know this again. And that's the best thing about Star Trek to me. Is like the reason you didn't want to watch it is not because it wasn't good. It was because you're like, no, it gets better. And I want you to just be at the better. I want you to already have seen it already. Come on. Let's go.
Well, the thing is, season 1 can be hit or miss for some. Like it's got some good moments and some good episodes, but it's like it's
understanding the scope of the Bajoran political situation is incredibly important, and you can't just tell that story in an episode or two, right?
Yeah.
And you guys even admitted it, like throughout the whole time we were rewatching it. People can go back and notice, like you guys were like, "This is important."
Yeah.
Like, all the important stuff. So like it was there, and it was written at the beginning, like you were saying, Parker, like with Lost earlier, like it wasn't written at the beginning. But season 3, suddenly all those things that were happening that were during the boring episodes are hyper valuable and make the story so much better, because like subconsciously I knew that about Garrett. Going into this episode, I would have never believed that he wasn't like going to do the right thing, you know? Yeah. And that's the, like, again, like I brought this up in previous episodes of the podcast, but like I've been watching this mostly audio. Like I put it in my phone because I don't want to like be disrespectful at work and like stare at my phone all day while also trying to do a job. So I just listen to the audio, and like I'm hearing these characters do these things, and I'm feeling the emotion. Like that's how well the acting and the writing and the pacing is of these stories. Like even the music and the like drop moments where there's no sound and I can hear the thimble drop, and it like honestly. Super tangent, but like it reminds me growing up listening to like stories on the car, like when you listen to books on tape while driving on long car rides. It reminds me of that while I'm working, and these like that's how well these episodes are written. You can listen and hear everything about it.
Not just necessarily well written, but well presented, in that you can turn off the visuals and still
choreograph.
Yeah,
you can hear the environment, and you understand, like, oh yeah, you know where they are.
Yep.
You know when they leave rooms. Yep. You know they're obviously.
You know when a ship flies by. Yeah.
I can only break my neck so much. Agreed.
And you know what I thought was really cool
that's how they do it.
You know what I thought was really cool when I like was just listening to an episode at one point? The background, like Deep Space Nine background sound is different than the Defiant background sound.
Well, yeah, obviously it's different
you
generators.
You can hear
different...
the hum of the deck plates that are different.
Yeah.
The rooms are different.
The HVAC is
the
different.
Background chatter in the promenade all the time.
There's like different buzzers or chimes going on
the operation deck.
Ops, and then like you hear the double table and
like yeah, but like it like room to room, set to set, like in the ops room, literally all you hear is keyboards, like their version of keyboard, like the computer being typed on, and you're like you notice like they have civilians operators, and you like you can hear the difference. That's how much attention to detail they put, and like that's what I wanted from Strange New Worlds. That's what I've always wanted from all the new Star Trek, because like the only thing Deep Space Nine is lacking is modern day presentation.
Yep.
Like if every dude wasn't walking around in the tightest possible shirt, even when they have string bean arms, like their uniforms are too tight and they're all jumpsuits. Like nobody
I promise you the uniforms get better.
Yeah, some of the best uniforms in all of Star Trek are on the way.
But like that's all. Everything else about this show is on point. You could literally rewrite everything or rewrite nothing else. You could maybe get new actors to play the roles, but you just play the same scripts with modern
production values.
Production value, and then boom.
I'm just thinking about the jumpsuits from season 1 of TNG.
Like literally, you just call it the remaster. Shit. Video games are already doing that.
Yeah, I am gonna say this though. Those season 1 uniforms did have certain advantages on certain members of the crew. Just saying.
Oh.
Just
but that's the issue. You have your onesies and twosies. Like the anomaly proves the rule. Like if
This
you
is
can
the
only
guy
have
in
one
the
of these
skirt
pieces, because
in
like
Far-
most production sets and costume designers nowadays, they can make the most unflattering person look gorgeous.
Yeah.
In
I was
every
more thinking Tasha Yar, but
Anyway,
Yeah,
so
all of
continuing
them
on,
look that.
continuing on the DS9 rave to our next episode, The Abandoned. For 3 bars of Latinum, Quark buys the rights to Salvage, a stranded ship from the Gamma Quadrant. Apart from a crying baby, he doesn't find anything of value. Bashir notices the boy has a very fast metabolic rate and is growing at an accelerated rate. Before the crew knows it, he's a teen who starts fighting on the promenade. Only Odo is able to calm him down, and Jadzia realizes he's Jem'Hadar. When Odo hears the boys to be examined in a Federation laboratory, he convinces Sisko he should take charge of the young man. Odo wants to try to change his nature so he could live on Deep Space Nine as a normal humanoid. Meanwhile, Sisko invites Jake's girlfriend, Madra, for dinner. She's 4 years older than Jake and a Dabo girl at Quark's. Sisko's very opposed to their relationship. Shout out again to Arnu Teal. A couple of grammatical errors, but whatever.
also as a heads up, Avery Brooks directed this episode.
Ah, interesting. Interesting.
Wow. So
He's got
you
an
know,
eye for Hallmark. Like this was a solid episode on what it's like being a dad and having to navigate the tough waters of reality.
Yeah.
and this brings up so many discussions of nature versus nurture. And you know, I feel like this was probably the episode that so far has done the most to help you understand the Jem'Hadar. Because when you get right down to it, you start to kind of realize, no, they're programmed to be weapons.
They're biological machines that are meticulously programmed.
Yeah. And you start to kind of go like, this isn't like the Klingons, right? Where they have this like honor warrior caste culture.
That they
that
just
has brought
violate the
them
hell
up.
out of anyway.
Well, yeah, but that they've been brought up to believe in, right? So that like, you know, it's not like a warrior culture. It's not really a culture. It's you know, the barracks might as well be an armory because that's where you store the weapons, right? And these guys are just biological weapons. And that having that understanding and having the understanding of the difference between what the Federation has fought before and these guys really makes the difference.
Yeah. And John, you brought it up before, and I'm going to reiterate. Yes, you're right. You'll want to pay attention to this episode. It's important in season 8.
Yes.
It is very important for season 8.
Critical.
Yeah, I think what I really liked about this episode was we get a lot of Odo's character development, and we get to see, you know, who he really chooses to be as a person. Like, he really goes out of his way to try and convince this individual to be more than what he was programmed, because he's been taught that, you know, we don't just assume things about people and assume the worst. We try to find the best. And he's even willing to give up his life on the station because he knows what it's like to be isolated. But to help this, if it means that this Jem'Hadar will never see combat, then, you know, all the better. And of course, in the end, realizes that you literally, you might as well be dealing with a robot that can't be reprogrammed, because that's what the Jem'Hadar are. And that's this is also a really cool way to do some world building. Like, of all the ways that they could have introduced the Jem'Hadar, you know, how to explain what they are and actually give us more detail, what an awesome way to go about it. Like, yeah, have a child that gets, you know, raised in the process as Bashir's finding out, oh yeah, they're addicted to this chemical compound that makes them more behavioral. And in the process, they're like, oh yeah, they literally cannot not fight. Like, it's in their nature.
Are you capable of thinking of anything else?
No.
I don't think so.
No! My musto hands! Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because, like, to me, this does feel a lot of like Borg-esque, and I don't know. I feel like it might have already been like replicated in recent sci-fi that I've seen.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it does feel like somewhat familiar in the sense of like I can never remember their names, but there was a group in the Persian Empire. I want to say like the Jesuits.
The Immortals.
The what?
The Immortals.
Not the Immortals. The other one. It started with a J.
The Janissary.
Which one?
The Janissary.
The Janissary. Yes, I want to say the group that was like basically adopted for military. And those to me like that was the like that's I read a lot about that group and I heard about that like idea of like adopting people into the military from birth, so they're just born to serve the empire, right? And that's kind of like what we're seeing here, just at scale. You know, like if you have the technology to produce this, then you produce this. And I think that like this episode, like the frustrating thing is that this was such an interesting episode in terms of like Odo wasn't necessarily like finding out who he is as a person, because like as we've seen throughout the whole series so far, like he's 100% John Wayne, you know, like he's the sheriff's sheriff just on Deep Space Nine. You could put him in any setting as the sheriff and he'd be the sheriff. And like I think that's the thing that he's finally having to prove, and like getting a younger version of himself on the ship. Like he was that aggressive and he found a way to deal with it. How did he deal with it? He showed the child, but he didn't explain that like it took him a while to get there. Didn't explain that probably the reason why he's such a good sheriff is because he was in the prison cell for most of his existence until he figured out how to be the one in charge of the prison cell, right? And like in that instance, like what we saw here is the parent dilemma. Like you want to get your kid all the information possible, but sometimes they grow up so fast that like you miss some beats and it doesn't come across. Like I think really what Odo needed to do was be like, you can't be Jem'Hadar. You're already infected. Like he's not the hive anymore. He's his own hive because he literally chose that. Like even though technically it'll probably take him a couple millennia to replicate and create more versions, you know, through probably some form of mitosis, right? He's still a fully separated entity similar to the hive. So he's his own hive. He's the mitosis of the hive in this instance. And then so to add all that up, like he just needed to realize what it means to be who he is according to his species. Like, no, you can choose them or you can choose me. My way, you get to do whatever you want. Their way, well, have fun being their puppet. And that was the part that he didn't instill to the child. He just kept telling the child, like, don't kill. Like, that's not something, like, you don't have a fear of death until you do. And you don't have an understanding of, like, loss at the mortal level until you do. And that kid never had that yet. And so that's what he really needed to instill in the child instead was, like, no, you can choose to be free like me and a part of my hive, which is the don't mess with each other or other people hive.
Well, yeah, okay, but you've also got to keep in mind too that, you know, Odo is not necessarily ready to be a dad yet, and to learn how.
Perfect example of that, though. Like
Right?
he was the honorable guy trying to be a dad, but honor enough isn't enough.
Yep.
You know.
Like
And
right now, he'd
that's
probably make a
important.
pretty rocking uncle, but that's about as far as I'd go, right?
Oh no, I think he would make a great dad if he had more than 6 hours.
Right?
Like, because he actually does have honor. I like, in this episode, like he was challenged and he immediately had answers, but his answers were like personal.
Yeah.
They weren't like, well, like because the Bible told me so, or because Starfleet told me so. No, he was like, no, you don't do that. It's wrong. Because internally it's wrong. Not because externally, not because of reasons, but because according to his heart, it's wrong. And I loved that about Odo, because like he couldn't feel connected to everything else because of what he was literally trying to save the kid from, which was like lab experiments and isolation. He was like, I don't want you to feel that. And I had to learn how to be me just so I could stop being that, so I could fight back against that. And you're trying to go join the exact opposite of that, which is the hive, so you have no personality ever again. And like this kid is like, yeah. And you're like, drug addict, detox. And he's like, nah. And he just got out. And I think that was such an awesome 40 minutes.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Like I was
dude, this is why we were
show
like,
was considered a flop, because like anybody that actually likes good content, this show's amazing. But I know for a fact it was just big media being like, nah.
No, not exactly. So the reason why this show it didn't get popular right away is because one, it started while like literally right as TNG was hitting its like golden era. Season 5 just, you know, we came in strong with season 4, and TNG was starting to be taken considerably more seriously as a show. Because of that, people avoided the first couple seasons of DS9. Not everybody was convinced of the spin-off. It was, oh, we're gonna explore strange new worlds on a space station, you know, because that's, you know, if
we're gonna
it was a big risk casting Avery Brooks.
It truly amazes me how many people are so close-minded when it comes to exploring strange new worlds and trying out strange new ideas. Like, you really don't understand. You cannot embrace infinite diversity and infinite combinations and then pick and choose who's not allowed and what's not allowed. No. It's either we embrace it all and we accept it all, which I do. If it's called Star Trek, it's Star Trek. If somebody says they're a fan of Star Trek, I'm going to take the time, like Odo did with the Jem'Hadar, and I'm going to exhaust every effort I can to get them to enjoy the Star Trek that I enjoy. I'm not going to assume that just because somebody says, oh, Star Trek didn't get good until 2017. Yeah, you're stupid if you say that, but I'm going to give you a chance to prove why that statement is dumb. I'm going to give you a chance to give me the benefit of the doubt and go, all right, this is why I love DS9. This is why I love the first 6 motion picture films. This is why I love Picard Season 3. This is why I love, I guess it's all the Star Trek I love. This is why I love Enterprise. This is why I love, most of these handful episodes of TNG. And, while I don't really rewatch that show as much because it's episodic. Anyway.
In the spirit of earlier, when I was saying, like, to the people that want to buy Lucasfilm, like, walk the talk, like, here you are, Parker, walking the talk. You literally are saying you would do that with anyone, and I'm someone that hasn't ever seen this, and you're like, yeah, that other stuff is good, but here's better. And you're right.
I didn't say good. Careful. I said that it's Star Trek, okay? Now, it might be bad, it might be good. Here's the thing.
You said you think that's good, but here's better.
Oh, wow.
You didn't say you didn't say no,
that's
it's good.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Instead, you were saying, like, no, you may like that. That's awesome.
All right.
Here's better.
I'm never going to convince someone to not like something. I think that is totally asinine to try and take something that somebody loves and say, yeah, you're stupid for liking that. I grew up with that shit, and we're done.
You know what's funny?
That's unacceptable.
Parker, it reminds me of something our dad used to say with food. But the more things you like, the more things you get to like. And that really does apply to Star Trek. Like, if you like some of it, you get to like all of it if you want.
You're allowed to pick and choose stuff out of the series. Like, it is perfectly okay to say that Picard Season 3 sucks and still like elements of the art. It is okay to say, hey, I actually like the Neo-Connie design. And I actually do. I started playing with it in Star Trek Online, and holy shit, is it way better in the game than it is in the show. I like the Neo-Connie. I like doing stuff with the Neo-Connie. I hate Picard season 3 as a show. I didn't like it, but I like the neocon. You're allowed to pick and choose the stuff of the art that you like. It's okay. Just like I'm allowed to pick and choose episodes of Star Trek that I really love from like Voyager. Voyager still has some banger episodes that I could put on right now, like Year of Hell. I could totally enjoy Year of Hell right now. And
Year of Hell needed to be a full season.
as it should have been.
Yeah.
No, Year of Hell needed to be all 7 seasons. That's
Year of Hell was supposed to be
a season. Yes. And they didn't want to get away from the
optimism.
it's our reset button, which makes no fucking sense. It made sense for the Enterprise, because here's how the Enterprise, after its 45-minute dilemma, would go. Set course for Starbase 1527. And there you go. We can go to the Starbase, we get our reset button. Next week you see us, we're brand spanking new because we just had a
little epilogue
Right.
at the end.
Voyager should have looked like considerably more distorted. It should have looked a lot more like the Enterprise does in Star Trek 3, with its, makeshift hull plating, fabrication. It looks like crap because we don't have a starbase to fix this in. We're just well, I don't think they replicated in the 23rd century, but we fabricated hull and we slapped it on. Even with replicator technology, you're not gonna care to keep restoring it to factory spec. You're gonna frickin' replicate a patch to cover the hole.
Make it work.
And then you're going to go back to your regular duties because the ship still has to function. And by the
Yeah,
end...
it's going to be mostly chrome.
Right, yeah.
Like, lots of chrome patching. Nobody's going to put the paint back on there. Nobody's going to fill in the 117. Actually, that might be the one thing, but it's going to get real edge marks. There's
gonna-
lots of splotches. It's
yeah.
freaking spacesuit painted on.
The
And
red-
like you just know that like Paris, like, when left unchecked for like a week, was gonna put flame jobs on the side of Voyager.
You
right?
know
Like,
it! Why weren't there flames on the Delta Flyer? That was probably one of the biggest crimes of Voyager. We didn't get a single flame decal on Paris's freaking hot rod. Like, what the hell?
You also know that every single time the ship gets to port, somebody's getting court-martialed for the appearance, just to show you how real life the Federation still is.
Yeah.
Like, they are bureaucratic. They do care about presentation. And no matter what harrowing journey they just spent 10 episodes on, court-martial the guys who painted the flames. And that's the whole resolution to the episode, or to the series. And that's hilarious, in character, and
Yeah.
leaves room for whatever you want to bring next.
No,
Like,
no,
that's a new episode.
the Equinox, the episodes where they have the Equinox had a more realistic journey through the Delta Quadrant than
Oh, yeah.
Voyager, which, was the freaking, it wasn't called, it's not Star Trek Voyager, let's call it what it is. It's Star Trek plot armor. That's literally what Voyager is. There's not a single main character who dies at all, even though it should have happened, like, statistically speaking. But no, all the big name guys, you got your 7-year contract, so you're there forever. Even though we somehow killed off Harry Kim without killing him off. That was actually kind of funny and morbid. But of course we also get another great line. We're Starfleet, weird is part of the job, which I guess Shaw missed that one.
Yeah, well, okay, so one thing I want to do, if we ever decide to do a Voyager rewatch, which I think we should consider at some point.
I'm gonna do
We should-
Enterprise before I do Voyager.
Okay, but hear me out. We could have a crew remaining tally and Torpedo's remaining tally, and just see how far it goes into the negative.
Oh, the torpedo
Throughout the
one? There's a
series.
video for that one, and it's brilliant. But it's
Oh,
yeah, no, the continuity masters, they just like got to like episode 7 and were like, screw continuity.
Steve Shives does an amazing, regardless of what you think about him or not, he has some great content. Yeah, he has a lot of great content. His video on Tom Paris is hilarious. It's right up there with his Jellicoe video. It is some funny shit. The scope of talent that Tom Paris has, like, is truly mind-boggling. The writing is so bad. Over
Yeah.
the scope, it's ridiculous when you put it all together and actually take a
Yeah.
look at what this character has accomplished. And
Well,
like,
and that's why
it-
Janeway is such a terrible captain, is not because of Kate Mulgrew did the best of what she had. It's because the writers didn't have any consistency, because it was like her values fluctuated with the needs of the plot. One day it's, we gotta stand up for the Federation values and ideals. And then the next it's, to hell there with that shit. It's getting in the way. It's too inconvenient. The plot must happen. You know,
I don't know
look
how
at me,
old
I'm
I
such a
was when I
badass. I'm gonna murder Tuvix unnecessarily. It's like that. Oh my god! Now you've got me on a thing. I gotta finish the thing real quick.
Okay. Let's get back to
Now,
the
Tuvix could have been done so much better, so much more emotionally, and just really just given a beautiful moment of a character sacrificing himself to restore those two. And instead, no, we get Janeway that just murders him because, you know, she's badass or something. Actually, it makes her look cold-blooded, and I would probably just throw myself out the airlock or get lost on the next away mission.
I'm not sure how old I was when I watched Voyager when it was on, but mid-teens, I guess.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s is when it ended, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, I remember being absolutely baffled by a solid 30% of her decisions just making no sense at all.
I know! And it sucks because she could have been a really great, you know, solid female character. Could have been what Kira is now in DS9. Kira has this thing that's important with the character in a continuous show called consistency. And if you have, you know, it's okay to have characters go out of character every once in a while. Janeway is a freaking roller coaster. All right, so the storyline for Civil Defense from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, turning back to Star Trek that doesn't irritate the shit out of me. O'Brien and Jake are prepping one of the old ore processing units to convert it for use as a deuterium refinery. Sisko checks up on them, just as Jake finds a strange file in the database which can't be detected, or deleted. O'Brien accidentally trips a Cardassian security alert and must enter a password but fails. Suddenly, the room's locked down and a recorded message from Gul Dukat appears on view screens, warning the Bajoran workers to surrender or face consequences. But their troubles, and that of the stations, are far from over. Shout out to Arnoud Teal. That was a very solid synopsis. Well done.
All right, so I'm just going to say this. Having worked in IT for as long as I have, this episode rings
Take a
so
drink. IT
goddamn
guys talk
true.
about working on IT again.
Yeah, fair enough. But you know what? This episode feels like a day in the office. Because you're sitting there and like everything's going well, and then you're like, oh, I think I'll screw with this. And all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. It's freaking perfect.
You know what? I think we need to actually start to make that a graphic. We've done this show for over a year now. I think that we have certain phrases and stuff that if we can reference, I just need a graphic to flash on the screen that says take a drink. Well, take a drink anytime I mention the Coast Guard, anytime I mention my book, anytime I mention being a Chinese chef. Those are the three things that if I mention, we all have to take a drink. Coriones, obviously, it's IT, witchy stuff. And
anytime you reference when I'm your younger brother.
Okay, yeah, I get four
Yeah.
things.
And I don't know, me gushing about Mark Alamo, I'm not too sure.
That's a good one.
I love
Go
No, we'll
Games.
just
Gold Dukat.
we'll just put up a picture of Mark Alamo on a nice, heart-shaped thing with you looking forlornly, towards him.
I gotta go back and
Yeah.
watch the TNG episode where they
No.
go back to the 1800s. And,
I
Data
think that's the
beats them
thing.
at
I think that's the
poker, he's
element we've been
gambler,
missing,
and
guys.
shit.
We need a Writer Brothers drinking game that just runs every Tuesday night if people want to join in the fun. Anytime we say something, I'll come up with a little graphic to just flash on screen. Take a drink. And yeah, we'll have the rules listed somewhere. We'll talk about this in the Discord. All right.
Yeah.
That's
Corione?
clever because that's how we get into the bars.
Corione, broadcasting
So-
live from a bar. I'm not opposed.
Yeah, so Civil Defense is actually one of my favorite episodes because this is an episode that builds nicely. Things progressively get worse and worse and worse. And then when you figure things are really bad, who shows up? But Gul Dukat. And, when he basically does you're screwed unless I help you, I've got you over a barrel. And you know what? I'm so smug in my I've got you over a barrel. I'm gonna leave and let you stew. Everything turns on him too, because screw you, Dukat. You don't get nice things either. And
Oh, dude, this
everybody
was
is
so-
under the in the barrel now.
When you build a death trap and then try to get out of your inescapable death trap, like that's what Gul Dukat did. Is he literally he was like, I have built the ultimate inescapable prison. I'm gonna go in there and negotiate a surrender. I can't escape.
damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we definitely learn a lot about Cardassian tyranny and paranoia in this episode, and and laziness, such too. Like, you know, we're gonna have, instead of me, you know, handling a situation live, no, I'm just gonna have all these pre-recorded messages to keep the appearance as though I'm still in control. And then, of course, you know, his boss is just gonna throw an extra little Easter egg in there that if he tries to escape in the event thereof, no, you don't get to escape. And really, we can just look at this from, you know, want to take one step back and look at it and go, why? Like, all of this could just be avoided if you guys were
The mining
just-
equipment triggered a trap. Nobody's using the mining equipment long before the Cardassians left. And then Galdacon's like, I'm gonna spring that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, there was so much great levels of nonsense there. We got some great moments between Gul Dukat and Garrick, because the two of them just hate each other, and it's so great to watch them hate on each other.
You notice how any Cardassian like of note, they're just like Garrick. He's like
Exactly,
Newman
man.
on Seinfeld. This is
Frat boy
Garrick is the
versus-
Newman of Deep Space Nine. I love that.
We had the most frat boy versus other frat boy from a different frat fight ever. Oh, you thought you could impress her? Oh, sure.
and he's like
In Star Trek,
honey, I'm a tailor. I understand. I can read women a lot better than you'll ever will be. You know,
man.
you're a married man out of the game. I'm a single gay
He's all
Cardassian who hems
all
women's
embarrassed
pants.
and shit. That fragile sense of honor they have is just like, how dare you?
Oh, it was so good. You know, like, just watching those two play off each other is amazing. And, you know, deciding in the writer's room, somebody must have decided, okay, how are we going to arrange during this lockdown for Odo and Quark to be stuck in the same room together the whole damn time?
That's a
Well, but
fruitful
not
that's a
well, but
fruitful
not only
dynamic.
for them.